Do you hate the new Disney Plus Marvel shows like Falcon the Winter Soldier, Loki, What If? Because What If is the worst one by far. And we might as well add Hawkeye because I've heard that one is pretty bad. If you do, me too. I also hate these shows. But Marvel live action shows didn't always suck from what I've heard. Before these terrible Marvel shows on Disney Plus existed, there were tons of Marvel shows connecting to the MCU. Mostly they were on Netflix. And I think one ABC show, which that's the one I'm going to be talking about today. That's right, I'm going to be reviewing Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1. Let's do this. Please, if you can, go follow my Instagram. It is full of stuff. So far, we got 18 followers, mixed between people that know my channel and people who don't. Please, if you have an Instagram account, please follow me. And also, if you have a Facebook account, follow my new Facebook page. There's not much on it so far, but I'm hoping to expand on that in the future. Now you're wondering, D the B, how do you find these amazing platforms? Well, obviously, go to my main channel, and there will be a tab with my Instagram link and my Facebook link. With that out of the way, let's get started with the video. I'm finally talking about the first season of this show. Yes. Sorry it took a while for this review to come out. I've been busy with some other things. Now we could get into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. By the way, I'm not going to cover every single episode in this review because there are 22 episodes in all, and I think that video would take like a couple days to finish. So I'm just going to review the whole season. I will just going to be covering all of season 1. I'll mention some of the episodes in the review, but also at the same time mention some minor things without getting too deep into the episodes. And so far with the series, I am on season 4, episode 2. So yeah, I've been watching this show lately, and I've been meaning to review this series for a while, ever since I started back in 2021. But here we are. Let's get into this. Might as well get into the short version, which is the non-spoiler category, which I'm going to do right now. So basically what Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is, it's a show that starts off after the events of the Avengers, and the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents are keeping the people safe from threats like people with powers or evil organizations that want to dominate the world, and even at some point Hydra. Which, if you got spoiled by Hydra, dude, you need to watch the MCU. Just not any of the modern stuff. No, you can ditch that stuff. Except for Spider-Man No Way Home. You can watch that one. That one's actually kind of good. Alright, let's get into this. Into the spoiler category. So, let's start with the first episode. Basically get the introduction of what the show is. So, as I mentioned before, the show takes place after the first Avengers movie. And society is back to the way it was before the Avengers came. And there's this little boy, he's looking at the action figures, and his father promises him that he will manage to get him one for his birthday, even though times are tough. But as soon as that happens, there's a big catastrophe happening right at the moment, and the father goes into action and rescues a woman from a burning building, which the people are recording their phones, and eventually he gets back to his son. Then later we get to meet one of our characters named Ward, or Grant Ward. I can't remember what his name is, and he is in the middle of a mission to get secret details. And he has to basically go up against these guys. After his mission, some point later, Agent Ward gets a new mission from the one and only Agent Coulson. Now, those Avengers fans that are just hearing this but haven't watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you're probably going like, Agent Coulson, I thought he died from Loki. Which, I had the same reaction when I did watch the first episode. And I started having theories like, maybe he's a clone. Maybe there's something we don't know. Mostly it was just a clone. But don't worry, in the first season they do explain why Agent Coulson came back from the dead. So, continuing on, then we transition back to the father from the beginning of the episode, where he is met up by another main character of this show named Skye. And she basically talks to this guy, and she convinces him that he needs to use his power for good and do all that hero stuff, which of course he's very judgmental about it. And for a while, he denies the offer. So then, at some point, we meet another character in the S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters named Agent May, which is played by the same person who plays Fennec Shan in The Mandalorian. When we meet her, we get the message that she doesn't want to go in the battlefield, but she is fine being a pilot because of some traumatic event that happened, which, don't worry, that's explained later in the show. I think it's like season 2 that arc is explained. Why? Season 2 or either season 3. Actually thinking about it, I think it might be season 3. But continuing on, Ward begins to start questioning the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents that, like, he shouldn't be a part of this team. And then we get to meet two of my favorite characters of this show in this season and so far this whole series thus far, and that is Fitz and Simmons. I just love these two. They work so well together, and I honestly just like them. Part of me was gonna be like, yeah, they're probably gonna end up together, which I don't mind. I love these two. But continuing on with the story, which I'll get more into the characters later in the video. Then Agent May gives Agent Coulson and Ward info about one of the Rising Tide members, also known as Skye. And when we see Skye again, she's giving this whole introduction of how they rise up against the big and the powerful. And she makes this joke that they will never find us as Coulson opens the door of her van with Agent Ward and take her in. Which I'm going to mention real quick. The comedy in this show is a whole lot better than what Phase 4 has been pretty much giving us. The comedy in Phase 4 is just unbelievably bad. Shows like Falcon the Winter Soldier, Loki, and What If. As I mentioned earlier, I haven't seen Hawkeye, which I'm going to very soon, because my brother wants to see it, which, that's fine. I get a video out of it, so yeah, I'll be discussing about that, and I'm most likely going to be finishing What If. But yeah, the comedy in MCU Phase 4 just sucks. Even in the Black Widow movie, which was their last movie that they made? No, wait, I just remembered Spider-Man No Way Home and Shang-Chi, which I haven't even seen Shang-Chi. I heard it was okay at best, but Shang-Chi just doesn't look interesting to me. But continuing on, they interrogate her, trying to get info about the guy that she spoke to that he should do the superhero thing. And they basically talk. Then we go back to the dad, which unfortunately some things go wrong. He loses his job, and we get to learn that the reason he has his powers at some point is because of a project called the Centipede Project, which is basically giving these normal human beings superpowers, which we learn in the very first episode that there are definite malfunctions. Centipede Project. At some point, Skye gets captured by that one guy that she was talking to, and they basically go on a chase, and the dad slash guy is just so unstable he could explode, literally, because the previous test that got unstable blew up. And they're trying to calm him down because they want to save the public and also save him, which then Ward knocks out that guy with a weapon that's called like the Sleepy Gun or something like that. Well, the name changes obviously. And yeah, that's pretty much the premise of the show. But now with that out of the way, we might as well get into the full series arcs and the characters. But let's start with the characters first. First character we have to talk about is Skye, who is the main character. Obviously, we need to start with Skye first. Skye is the main antagonist. She is one of the members of an organization called the Rising Tide, which is, as I mentioned earlier, coming up against the big powers. And at some point, the first episode, the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents grab her and then make her join Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And she's also trying to look for her family. Let's get into the next character, Grand Ward. Originally, I liked Grand Ward. I thought he was a pretty cool character with the issues that he had with his family, with his interest in Skye. I thought he was a pretty good character, but unfortunately, I lost all hope in Ward, and I began to hate him as the season went on when it was revealed that he was a part of the evil organization called Hydra. And when I discovered this claim and watched more episodes with him in it, I began to hate Grand Ward. Alright, let's get into the next character, Phil Coulson, who managed to survive his injuries from Avengers. So, as I did mention earlier, him coming back to life was explained in the show later in Season 1. Phil Coulson was put in a project called Project Tahiti, if that's what it was called, I can't remember. Basically, what it was they used alien DNA, or more alien blood, to revive Phil Coulson, and this project was established way before his death to bring back like an Avenger or something like that. And of course the project was used on him because S.H.I.E.L.D. still needed him. So yeah, that's the reason how he's alive. So let's get into the next character, or should I say characters, Fitz and Simmons. As I said before, I love these characters. They are the best thing out of the show. I just think they work so well together. I'm out dorky, which is one of the reasons I love them. And like even with one joke where they decide to pull a prank on Skye, I just found it very funny. I just love these two. And they're the scientists of the group. So they're the ones who are developing the tech and all that stuff. And I'm just going to say it, their chemistry is really good, and I really do love these characters, especially when the series progresses. Alright, let's get into the next character, Agent May, which as I mentioned before, she is the same actress who played Fennec Shand in both The Mandalorian and The Bad Batch, unless there was someone else that I'm not aware of, and she was also Mulan in the original 80s or 90s film, the animated one, not the terrible looking live action one. And her character is really interesting. Through the show of Season 1, we find out that Agent May had a traumatic experience. Like, before the events of her traumatic experience, she used to be a jokester, and a great soldier. But at some point after a terrible event, she no longer wanted to be a part of the battlefield, so she, of course, went to an office and then she became a pilot. Which, when you watch more of the show, you get to grow with her a little bit more. So, yeah, she's a pretty interesting character. And we might as well get to the additional characters. We have so many characters when it comes to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and we might as well bring up the additional ones, as I said. First up is the character of Deadlock. And Deadlock has been through a lot. He is also that dad that I mentioned in the first episode. Deadlock has been through so much. First, with the malfunction of the Centipede Project, then being an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., but giving Phil Coulson up so he can save his son. But then, after trying to save Phil Coulson, blowing up, and then getting his eye removed, a part of the the Clairvoyant project, and he has to do the dirty deeds of the Clairvoyant, or he will explode his head, which that will be an arc I will get into next. Another character, which has superpowers that I need to mention, is Scorch. Now, Scorch won't take too long because he was only in one episode. So what basically Scorch was, he was this powerful being, and S.H.I.E.L.D. had compromised with him to only show his powers for good, but the Sundressed Lady, which I'll get into next, grabs him, expands on his powers, then steals some of his blood for a secret project. Then he dies, and yeah, that's pretty much his fate. He didn't last that long. Alright, let's get into the next character, the Sundressed Lady. The Sundressed Lady is working for the Clairvoyant by developing the Centipede Project. She's involved with the Centipede Project, and as I mentioned earlier, she meets up with Scorch and basically takes his blood for the project, so the Centipede Project doesn't get unstable. And then she meets up with the Clairvoyant, and she basically does appear for the rest of the show, mostly, which I'll get into season 2. So let's get into the next character, the Clairvoyant. Now, the Clairvoyant, also known as Agent John Garrett. The Clairvoyant is mostly the antagonist of the show, and he is one of the Agent S.H.I.E.L.D. members that is a part of the evil organization called Hydra, as well as Ward. Actually, Agent Garrett is the mentor of Grand Ward after Grand Ward's terrible past, which is the reason Grand Ward got into Hydra. And he basically uses the power that he has at S.H.I.E.L.D. to create an evil organization to make super-powered beings, which involves the Centipede Project. Eventually, this guy does die in the end, which, thank goodness. And a kid who becomes the character known as Blizzard. So the only reason I'm mentioning him is because he's going to be relevant to the second season. So originally, Blizzard was a student at the Academy for the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but agents discovered that he has built a device that can freeze people or objects, and of course, that experiment is the reason he gets powers. Spoiler for season 2, but I needed to mention it because of it. Alright. There are more characters, but I'm gonna stop there because there are way too many characters for us to mention. Like, there is so many, so I'm gonna get into the arcs of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Let's do this. Okay, there are a lot of things that happen in season 1 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. A lot of arcs that happen in the show. Like, obviously, as I mentioned before, the Centipede Project is one of the biggest arcs in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. This arc pretty much lasts through the whole season of sorts. Like, the Centipede Project is introduced in the very first episode, and the Centipede Project ends at the very last episode of season 1. And also is Hydra, which we do get a lot with Hydra. Hydra and Centipede are linked, and a part of the Centipede slash Hydra arc, we're focused on the Clairvoyant, who is the main bad guy, who is a agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. himself, undercover, and he has some personal experiences with Grand Ward. He kind of raised Ward like a son, which we get to see near like the final couple of episodes. And yeah. Also, there are some additional episodes that happened besides Centipede and Hydra. Like, there was this one episode where the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. went into the Academy, which mentions Blizzard, which I'm going to get into that. And they are trying to figure out this weird thing that's going on in the Academy because certain people are getting trapped in these things of ice, and S.H.I.E.L.D. has to investigate who is doing it. And it turns out the one who's doing it is one of the people who were a victim to the ice, and that's Blizzard's character, which of course in the end of the episode he gains powers, which I'll get more into a bit more in season 2. And before that, he loses his best friend, which is the only one who saw potential in him and his talents, and he just dies. Alright, I might as well get to the final conclusions of season 1 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's a pretty good show. I like this series, and including how I've been progressing more through the series, it's just a good show. They really did a good job with these characters. And clearly a lot of people did like this show, because if they didn't, it wouldn't have lasted all the way to 7 seasons. My final conclusion, I give this a 9 out of 10. This is a show that you should really check out. Besides Ward, this show is amazing, and you should really give it a chance. If you don't want to rent the episodes just in case you hate the series, if you do have a Netflix account, it is currently on Netflix. So, yeah, give it a shot if you can. I will say it is a very long show, including how the first 5 seasons are 22 episodes in all, and each episode I think is like 42 minutes per episode. Just thought I would throw that out there. If you have the time and you're willing to check it out, I really recommend it. With that out of the way, what did you think of the episode? Tell me in the comments. And I'll try to get the review for season 2 out very soon. And with that out of the way, have a nice day, everyone.